So, hello there, back with another video, and today, my 8th attempt, that's right, this is my 8th attempt doing this, because there's many mistakes, but this is my favorite book of the year. This is just basically talking about my favorite books of the year. So, let's just get started, but first, 2 notes. 1, I'm going to do the honorable mentions first to get them out of the way. 2, I'm just going to try to go into the books in the order that I read this year. So let's get started, shall we? The first honorable mention that I have to mention is the Why the Last Man comic series. While I did start this in December of last year, I pretty much read Volume 2, which around means issue 6 onward to the last issue. These are the first 2 deluxe editions, collecting volumes 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. This is a comic series that I overall very much like. I would consider it to be one of my favorite comic series because I overall was very much invested in the story and the characters, although the ending I didn't find to be particularly satisfying due to the fact that I felt like that Brian K. Vaughan really lacked on some things, and the ending was kind of satisfying. But yeah, overall, it's a really comic series that I'd recommend, even common beginners. Check it out. The next one is the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, and which these I read in March, and Why the Last Man, obviously, when I started. This is overall a very fun and interesting series. Not fun, I will take that back, not fun, but it's overall a very quite enjoyable series. The second book, The Asking the Answer, is overall my favorite of all the series. The reason why it's just being bumped down to how much is that the third book, while it did still have some good moments, I overall felt like that it was just kind of a little lacking, and it was kind of like, and also, it took me 14 days to finish. Yeah, 14 days. You know, that's quite a long, but overall, I quite enjoyed it. The next honorable mention is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Well, overall, like this book, I didn't love it. Nothing really stood out to me, besides Anthony Doerr's very elegant and beautiful writing style. Like, Anthony Doerr is a very talented writer, and I am looking forward to reading other things by him in the future. I'm trying to pause. Next up is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, an overall very fun, enjoyable, twisty murder mystery. Although, yes, I can see the twist and how it can be kind of, implausible and kind of like, what's the chance that this person would find something like that? Although, yes, I can see why people could not really like it. Overall, I actually quite like this. It's my favorite book out of Ruth Ware's. The next is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, a very interesting and dark and depressing memoir. Although, yes, it is very dark and depressing, and it does convey some very heavy dark themes such as alcoholism, poverty, child abuse, and even occasionally sexual assault. I actually quite enjoyed this and found it to be very interesting. It does have a film adaptation out, but I decided not to see it because I'm afraid that I'm not going to like it, and I know it's not going to be faithful, so yeah, but that's just me, But overall, I'm not here to talk about the adaptation. I'm here to talk about how really good this book is, deserving it. And I will mention it on my list. Next up is One of Us is Lying by Cannon McManus. Again, a fun and engaging murder mystery YA novel, though the twist is definitely kind of predictable, and it has been held as problematic by some due to its tie-in with mental illness, which I'm not going to spoil. But yeah, I can see why and I can see where people are coming from that. But overall, I ended up quite enjoying this little twisty little murder mystery. Forgot to put this one in front of The Glass Castle, but the next one I'll mention I have is Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab, which is the second book in the Monster Severity duology. The first book, although the last 5 chapters were absolutely amazing, just the first whatever chapters were just kind of meh and just very underwhelming, but this book definitely improved on it. The story was more interesting, the characters were more interesting, especially August, who was just fascinating to read this book. And overall, this does what a sequel should do, improve on the original predecessor and earning it a spot on my list. And the last I'll mention is the Jasper Dent or I Hunt Killers trilogy by Barry Lyga. This was overall a very interesting and enjoyable series, although I did have some issues, like I mentioned in my review, about the plot twist, how they were kind of predictable, and also how they just weren't impactful. But yeah, overall, besides those few issues, I quite enjoyed this series. Okay, let's get into my favorites. The first book which I read near the end of January was Everneath by Brody Ashton. I did not expect to like this book so much today, but the story was actually really intriguing and interesting. The characters I actually really cared about and cared to get out of the situation All the last two books are good, they're just not as good as the first book, but the first book is definitely worth the reading. Although the first two books are kind of the whole series is definitely worth reading because that first book is just so freaking good. My next favorite book is Raven's Peak by Lincoln Cole. I also did not expect to like this book as much as I did, but although the story was interesting and original, and the fact that it mixes FBI crime with demonic possession and fantasy horror elements, and also for anyone who's looking to read more diverse books, both the main characters in this book are POC. The main guy is Indian, the main girl is black. So just in case if anyone's watching and you want to find more diverse books, just saying, but I'm guessing if you want to look for a good book, it doesn't matter. It's a good book, and I highly recommend that you read it. The next book is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. Now, I was kind of going into like, man, I might not expect to like so much, and it was a really damn good book. The characters were interesting, the story was interesting. I actually cared for the characters, although the pacing in the first half of the novel was very much rushed, and there was some backstory behind the character of Jane that I just felt like was very predictable, and I was like, overall, this is such a good book, so thrilling, really interesting characters, and yeah, read it, like, immediately. The next book I did read in the same month, but I read it before Big Little Lies, and that is Winter by Marissa Meyer, the fourth and final book in the Lunar Chronicles series. I don't know why this was my favorite, but probably because of the action scenes. Because the action scenes were so freaking epic and just, whoa, and so intense, and the story, I guess, was more interesting this time around, more enjoyable, and although the characters aren't the most interesting, they're fine to follow. Overall, this series I did quite enjoy, although Crest is definitely my least favorite. Because like parts were just very boring and kind of dragged out. But overall, the entire series is worth the read. The next book I have to shelf is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This book was really good. I actually cared about the characters, like the story. The story was interesting. The way it explored mythology was very interesting. I actually care when a character died, especially there was one sequence where a character died. I was like, oh. And also, this does have a TV adaptation, which, anyway, it's like, here's the cover of the DVD of the first season. Here's the book. Yep, they're matching covers. And I overall cannot wait to start this next year and get caught up. So the second season will come in, because I'm pretty sure it's been written for a second season. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And overall, I cannot wait to see the TV show of this fantastic book. Okay, now we're going on to my comic section of the year. There's only like two comics that I would really consider that my favorite. Sorry for the little stutter there. I did read quite a bit of comics this year, pretty much back to back a lot, and I did complete some series this year, which I will probably mention in my wrap-up this month of what series I completed this year. But let's just go on to the comics that are this year that are my favorites. Now, this is actually the cover of the first volume / first issue, and that is Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire. This comic, the first two volumes I read, and I was like, oh, it's pretty good. The story had a very addictive quality, but then there's a point to where it gets to the third volume, and then it's just like, holy fucking shit, what did I just... What? And from that point on, I was hooked to the series, and the other moments I freaking loved, although in the other two moments there was parts that kind of annoyed me, and they're like, oh, but overall, I consider this your favorite, even though I wasn't that impressed with the first two times, is that the series always has such an addictive quality to it. Like, I binged the series in about 2 to 3 days. That's how much addictive that series was, that I binged it. For comic series, I usually just kind of read a volume, how many issues are contained in that volume, and then I'm done, and then I just go on to the next one. But this, I pretty much just binged the entire series just within, I would say, probably about 2 or 3 days. That's how much I loved it, and I highly, highly recommend you check this out. Now, the next one, this is the variant cover, one of the many covers, but I just went with this cover and Goodreads review. However, due to some problems, that review got deleted. However, I will hopefully get that back up. And this one, the covers to the first volume of Crossed by Garth Ennis. Didn't really expect to like this as much as I did, because the other two things I read by him, I was kind of like, whatever. But the more I read, the more I liked it, and I overall ended up quite liking this. I actually came with the characters, the story was really interesting, although it does have some very fucked up things that happen in it. and some really hard-hitting things that happen, but I'd highly recommend it. Although this series is very gory, although the gore didn't personally shock me except in the early on where there's one scene where some people get killed, and it happens very early on the volume, and it's very gory, to say the least. I can't go into description because number one, it's a spoiler. Number two, oh yeah. But overall, I quite like this comic as it went on. I did read the second volume kind of about a month ago, and it wasn't as good. It did have some moments where I was like, ugh, that was not necessary. Ugh. But yeah, overall, this comic was definitely pretty good. I recommend it, and that is my favorites of the year. Next week will definitely be my December wrap-up. Bye!